You work hard in the gym. Your body only deserves the best. IsoJect by Evogen Nutrition, featuring Evozyme technology, ultimate in pure whey isolate.
Justin's a thinking man's bodybuilder, and what our relationship is, I see his pictures every week. I give him feedback. If he has any questions regarding anything, or he wants a different perspective on anything, that's where I fit in. But I think Justin can give you a little bit more of a hands-on feel of what the difference is really like.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't, he doesn't send me I'm sure you do this with the other guys with Phil and Dallas, that you probably send them specific 8 ounces of this, 10 ounces of that, or, we don't really talk about the diet that much. So, I send him my pictures, he looks at it and basically tells me, you're going the right direction, or you need to keep working on this, you keep working on that. So, in contest prep, the conditioning is mostly going to be the key. We tried to fill in the gaps as much as possible, but most people don't grow significantly into the shows. We just need to make as many improvements as we can. So right now, conditioning, I want to be, I'm aiming to be a lot bigger this year, but I need to be in much harder shape. And I wanted to show him, since I'm very meticulous about keeping all my old pictures from shows, I show him this is where I was 5 weeks out last year, and this is where I'm at now, and this is the direction that we're moving in. And we've never butted heads and me saying, oh, I'm ahead of schedule, and him saying, no, you're not. So being as we've always been on the same, both of us going in the same direction, there's really no need for anybody to make any changes. If things is moving, the whole theory is don't fix something that's not broke, and everything I've been doing thus far has been working. And if I ever have any questions, our phone calls are anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours. So we discuss any and everything that needs to be done. If I have any questions for him, he always takes care of it. And if he has anything he wants to ask me, or anything, anything either business related, or whether it's diet related or training related, whatever, we're very close, and we make sure that everything gets touched on. And like I said, having a close relationship, it makes things if I call him, I usually get a response within usually on the spot, but within a couple of hours. So everything is it's sort of the same, but it's sort of not. He takes care of me when I need it, but he doesn't babysit me.
Yeah, and I don't feel like he needs to be babysat, because at the end of the day, like he says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. What I try to improve upon are little angles and say, hey, listen, I know you've been doing this. Have you thought of doing this or doing this? And obviously he's training with Matt, which is great because he's got a workout partner. But at the same time, what they can do is take our conversation and take it to the next level and make sure to break things apart and say, yeah, we tried this, we tried that. Today when we were together, we were able to see that because he gets very, very in tune with his physique. And he says, you know what? I tried different angles on this calf machine. I didn't like this. I put a 2x4 here, and then I was able to do that, and I got a really good stretch. I got a good contraction. And what he's able to do is find different little solutions to those problems. And some of them we can take care of over the phone, and other things he has to go in and try to work it out because I'm not with him every day.
Yeah, the gyms here are probably not like the gyms Bev's or Venice. So I have to work with what I got. This is Ford's gym, and this is probably one of the best gyms in Kentucky, but it's also 50 minutes from home. So I don't get to come here every day. So when I'm at home at other gyms, it's not that they're bad gyms, they're just, how it is. And they're not catered friendly to, top pro bodybuilders having everything we need. So there's times that I will jimmy rig a machine to make sure that, whether it be we bring our own handles to the gym, sometimes for the, cable attachments, or seated calf raises. I don't like the angle that it puts my, as a matter of fact, it actually hurts my calves in a really bad way. So I just simply cut a 2x4 and I just put it on the housing of the machine, and now it works perfect. So little things like that. When we're talking about building the outer side of the calf, it's about getting up on that big toe. By really being able, instead of just pushing the weight with your entire front of your foot. Well, I can't do that with a machine that has a really a shifted angle that my feet want to slide off of. So I made it work for me. And this goes back to what I said earlier. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So the training, yeah, it's changed. The training has changed significantly because I'm not looking to put on 25 pounds stage weight. I'm looking to add 5 pounds to complete the physique to make it look like I put on 25 pounds stage weight. But as far as the dietary thing, being as I've done so many shows, I kind of know what my body responds to when it doesn't. So the only thing I really need to do is diet a little longer and a little harder to get into better contest shape. Into, rather than coming in at 4%, I'm going to try to come in at 2.5%. Or whatever those numbers may be. I don't do body fat calipers. I don't do bod pods. I don't do that kind of stuff. I go by the meter. So basically, nothing has changed at all. Like in terms of what I eat, when I eat, how I eat. It's just doing it a little bit longer. The training is probably the biggest aspect of things because that's what he can visually see, in my pictures. The diet, me and him worked together briefly in 2011, and he's been around a long time, and I work with other coaches and stuff too. The food is very, very basic. It's very elementary when it comes to bodybuilders. When they try to overcomplicate things, they just end up screwing it up. So it's best to just stick to the basics. And I've learned that over the years, and he knows that I know that as well. So we just do the basics and we do what needs to be done. We've kind of alternated, the usage of the Evogen products, on how I do things. The Carnogen basically stays in. Basically, it's about the same every day. You don't really change that. That's not like a stimulant. It's not, going to build like a massive amount of muscle. It's basically to oxidize the fat, and you can't really go wrong with that, throughout your prep. I think that's a supplement that, almost every competitor should be using. The liposide, we've kind of put that in when needed because I'm very, very sensitive to stimulants. And because I have sometimes the sleep is good, sometimes the sleep is not. So as long as I'm doing good and I have everything is going good, I can use that product. It's not something I use on a daily basis. I don't think it's something that anyone should use every single day.
Absolutely.
Because you actually, your receptors are going to become very sensitive to it, and you're not going to respond to it because it is a stimulant. It's something that you're probably going to need to cycle on and cycle off of. That way you're still responsive to it. How do I feel going into the show? I really truly think that I have a shot at coming into the show, and I think, at the end of the day, I'm with a bunch of veteran guys. These guys are not rookies. These guys are good. They've all won shows. Dexter's been Mr. Olympia, and Evan has even beaten Dexter before. So a lot of these, I've went against Rolly Winkler before, and Rolly's beaten me, but, that was 2 years ago, and a lot happened in my body in the last 2 years. So going against these guys, I don't underestimate them, but I do feel like I can stand toe-to-toe with them. Like if I come in exactly the way I want to come in, I think that any man could walk out of there as a champion. And with that being said, I want to make sure that I leave no stone unturned. And, as much as I really don't like the phrase, while they're sleeping, I'm working, that really kind of contradicts, but I want to make sure that I'm going to beat them. I want to go above and beyond to make sure that I'm at my best. I can't control what they look like, so if Dexter comes in huge and he's actually the Blade, he may beat me. But I know that at the end of the day, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I win this. This show, a lot of people don't. I don't know if people have followed some of my previous videos when I've said about the Arnold. The Arnold was the first pro show I ever got to watch. It was actually on pay-per-view in 2004 when Jay Cutler won it. So the Arnold is like a little bit more special to me than, technically it would be more special to me than the Olympia, because at that point in my life, I didn't even know what Mr. Olympia was. All I know was I was getting into bodybuilding in 2004, and I saw, there's a pay-per-view, and I ended up watching it on pay-per-view. So that show and that image, the way that they broadcasted the show, it stuck to me as like, this is a very prestige title. And back then, I didn't think I would ever be at this point in my life, but I'm very thankful to be where I'm at. And now I'm actually going to be battling for that title, and I want it bad. So, we got about 5.5 to 6 more weeks, and we're going to see what happens. I've already committed that I will be doing the Arnold Australia, which is the following weekend. I think most of the guys that are doing Columbus are going to be doing that show, so a lot can change in a week. So if you get beat at one show, it doesn't automatically mean you're going to get beat the following weekend. But those 2 shows are set in stone that I have signed contracts to, I've committed to. Everything else outside of that is just going to rely on what happens over the next 6 weeks. Like there's the possibility that I could not win one of those shows and still get my qualification and decide, I think I'm good enough for the Olympia. I want to do it. And there's also the possibility that I could win unanimously and say, man, I'm still not ready for the Olympia. Like, you know, whenever I've always wanted to pick and choose my battles when it comes to being competitive. I always want to be, you know, it's like if you look at Phil's stages in his career, you know, he didn't hop in the O the first couple chances that he had, he set it out. And because what good would it have done Phil to have made 15th place in his first Olympia? And I think when Phil third his first Olympia?
Yeah, what we did is we took the first 2 Olympia qualifications and didn't do them. So when he qualified, we sat him out because we didn't feel that he would be in the top 6. And my feeling was to bring him in his 2008 was his first year, and come in at a high level. So when he did come in, he was able to place 3rd in his first Olympia, and that was the year that Dexter had won and Jay had taken 2nd. And arguably, even Jay mentions that if he was just maybe a little more seasoned in terms of being seen, he might have been able to have won that show in his first year out. But because of the fact that he was his rookie year at the Olympia stage, he placed 3rd. He looked very, very good. But at the end of the day, we did sit him out 2 years of the Olympia till he was ready. So that might just happen this year too. We've been talking about it.
This is something that, like, you know, a lot of people come to me, and a lot of people were disappointed in me this year for not doing the Olympia. But here's a really good explanation that I'd like people to think about real quick. Is I qualified for the Olympia at 25 years old. And at 25, I don't feel that a man is done growing. Like, I feel like even though I've been training for 12 years, I feel like I have a lot left in the tank. I feel like the improvements, I'm just getting started. And I think that these guys that do show after show after show after show, if you don't have a productive off season, you're not going to get, you're not going to grow, you're not going to make the improvements that you need. So with my age on the side, if I was like in my later 30s, and I knew that the size game was not going to be for me, and, you know, I'm probably not going to grow, probably not going to get bigger, and let's say I'm already where I'm at that point, then yeah, I would be doing, you know, every Arnold, every Olympia, every post-Olympia show. But right now, I feel like I have the ability to capitalize on making my body more perfect through my off season. So by taking that time off, you know, I've got the age on my side, I've got plenty of time on my side, and I feel like I've got, you know, enough knowledge, and I have enough people in my corner to support me and tell me what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. And I think, you know, that being said, by taking that extra time, you know, and coming in, instead of showing up at 80% of what I need to be at the Olympia in 2014, I can show up at 94, 95% this year, whatever, you know, not trying to put a percentage or a number on it, but by taking the time, it lets me perfect things, and that's what's going to be an Arnold Classic champion or a Mr. Olympia champion. It's not a matter of what you've got, it's a matter of what you don't have at that level. So, you know, if there's little areas that needed to be fixed, with my age and the time, I'm able to fix that. But if I just keep bouncing from show to show to show, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing that people do that, some guys can make improvements between shows. For me personally, if I've competed, this is just speaking from prior experience, when I compete frequently, because I used to as a teenager, and I tried it once, you know, in my early 20s of hitting 2 shows in the same year, my progress is nowhere near, like, you know, people always post transformation pictures of me from this year to this year, and I don't make that type of progress if I take, you know, 3-month off season and then we go on into the show, the next show or what that is. But if I can have a full year off season, I can actually sit down, I can plot 6 months worth of training. I can put 6 months worth of training program to just beat my physique down to make it as good as I can possibly make it, you know, and I adjust the diet accordingly. You know, whether I need more, whether I need less. The diet is really secondary to me because I've been doing it for so long, I don't need to really think twice about it, I just know what to do with it. But, you know, the training is where, like, I have to make my certain improvements, and by taking that time has allowed me to do that. So just to answer your question about as for what I'm going to do the remainder of the year, it's undecided. I want to see the finished product at the Arnold, and, you know, I'd love to do I'm going to be at the Olympia at some point. I just don't know. It'll most likely be this year. I really want it. So you'll probably see me there, but I'm not going to make that commitment until after the Arnold. And there may be another show that I decide to warm up with. I don't know. We haven't really put everything together yet. Like everything, the future I don't believe in planning, that far in advance. I think you need to take one step at a time, get the show under your belt, then decide what's next. If you try to keep planning ahead and ahead, I think you're going to set yourself up for failure.